A very warm welcome in the class of Mathematics 3. We are actually in the last class of the module Propositional Calculus. Today's topic is Logical Quantification of Propositions. Myself Rupak Bhattacharjee, Assistant Professor, Department of Mathematics, JIS College of Engineering. The prerequisites for this topic is the idea of propositions, the idea of their connectives, and obviously the idea of propositional functions. And finally, we need the idea of rule of inference to prove some logical problems. So without making further delay, we are entering into the topic. First of all, we need that why this quantification of proposition is required, or rather what is this. So already we have seen that proposition can be created from propositional function. If I have a propositional function px, if we put x or if we make x fixed, we will get one proposition. That means for a particular value of x, propositional function gives us a proposition. And quantification is another way of creating a proposition from a propositional function. So when we are making the quantification, we will also reach to the same destination, and we are going to discuss here two types of quantifications. First one is universal and second one is existential. From these two terms, if you go into the meaning of this, universal means it is true for all. And existential means it can be true for all, but it will be guaranteed that it is true for at least one. Then existence is guaranteed, and if it is true for all, then universality is also guaranteed. Now, mathematical point of view, we can say for the first one, that is universal quantifier or universal quantification, what we can say that it is the universal quantification of the propositional function px is the proposition px is true for all values of x in the domain. and it is denoted as by your known structure for all x px. Clear? And similarly, if we think for existential quantification, it is nothing but the statement, what you can say, that there exists a value of x where in the domain for which px is true. That means the existence of px is being guaranteed, and it is denoted by, it is also known structure to you, that there exists at least one x such that px is true. So this one is called universal quantifier, and this one is called existential quantifier. So now we need some example also, and in the example part we can consider the propositional function px, suppose stating that it must contain x in the statement x is a good batsman. Okay, now where the domain is a set of all students in the class, all students in the class. So the universal quantification, that is for all x px, it is actually the statement that every student, because it is true for all, every student in the class is a good batsman. Clear? And similarly, if you want to think about the existential quantification and its example for the same statement of px, then the existential quantification, that is there exists x such that px is true, is the statement that there exists a student who is rather in the class, I should mention, otherwise the set will be disturbed or the domain will be disturbed. There exists a student in the class who is a good batsman. So these are the examples of existential quantification and universal quantification. Now I am going to share one very important thing, which is called, we are discussing here now, negating the quantification. What is the meaning of this one? Look at this. There are two segments. Negation of for all x px, it is equivalent to there exists one x negation of px for x is in A, where A is the actually universe of discourse. And the second property is negation of existential operator quantifier x px is equivalent to for all x negation of px for x is in A. So look at this, just for the sake of keeping it in your mind, it is nothing but very much closely related to De Morgan's law, because when you are inserting in De Morgan's law negation, this will go to this, and here when you are inserting negation, then this one is going to this, or this one is coming as this. So we can use this particular two properties for solving various problems, because when it is the requirement to prove this one, but the straightforward method is not working out properly, in that case, to avoid the mess or to avoid this particular complexity, we can use this one. Now we are going to give another example. It tells us that find the truth value of the universal quantifier of the propositional function Pxy stating x square plus y square less than 12, and obviously the domain is given as 1, 2 and 3. So the solution tells us that the universal quantifier of Px of x square plus y square less than 12 for all x, there are two variables x and y. So we see that 1 square plus 1 square is less than 12, 1 square plus 2 square is less than 12, 1 square plus 3 square is less than 12, 2 square plus 2 square is less than 12, but 2 square plus 3 square is equal to 13, which is greater than 12. So 13 less than 12 is not correct. So as our requirement is universal quantifier and we get one counter example, then we can say that x square plus y square less than 12 is not valid for x equal to 2 and y equal to 3. This for this px is not true. It means that the universal quantifier is false here. Now, another example of a very interesting type, for me at least, that we are having some statements. Some trigonometric functions are continuous. Next statement is that some continuous functions are periodic. And next statement is that some trigonometric functions are periodic. Now we have to think that when they are claiming from these two to the third sentence, how we can justify or make it crossed that is not true. What is the process? So we take the premises to be true. We will search for the argument drawn from the premises are true or not. So these two will be considered as true, and we will verify the status of this one. Now look at this. We can make propositional functions like that. Tx is x is a trigonometric function. Cx is x is a continuous function, and px is x is a periodic function. Now if I state or restate these statements using universal quantifier, what will be the case? But before that I want to show you, suppose according to the Venn diagram it is a set of trigonometric functions, and it says that some functions are continuous. So if it is our set of continuity, so this is the intersecting part, and ultimately next sentence says that the continuous functions, some continuous functions are periodic, so this is the intersection part. Now the question is, some trigonometric functions are periodic or not. So we are not getting, at least at this moment, that no intersection is present between t and p, so it is not true. You can ask that there are some trigonometric functions which are periodic, so how we can say that it is not going to be true? Here I want to mention one thing. Our prime job for having this rule of inferences and to get this job done is to only and only concentrate on the given informations, not to use our own ideas. It will harm the whole process to justify. So we have given this one, we are allowed to use this one only. Now using universal quantification and existential quantification, what we can write for the first statement, that there exists some function where trigonometric functions are continuous functions. This is true for some functions because it is given, and similarly there are some functions where the continuous functions are periodic functions, and here the conclusion they want to check that there exists some function where Tx will be periodic functions. Clear? But the problem is that here this argument does not follow because we already stated one counter example. But if it is going to be true, this argument, then showing it by just verification is not enough, is not sufficient. So in that case, what we have to do? So there, for that actually, I am going to show you another example. This example is also stating the same, some statements. They are saying that babies are illogical. Okay. Illogical peoples are despised. Now the next sentence is that nobody who can manage a crocodile is despised. The conclusion here drawn that babies can't manage crocodiles. So in our real life sense, what does it mean? It is true statement, but we have to prove this by our quantifier problems. But before that, just for verification, if this is a set of babies and babies are illogical, that means this will be the set of illogicals. Now nobody who can manage a crocodile is despised. So if illogical peoples are despised, then illogical people's set will be a subset of despised. But nobody can manage, that means if you take this set as M who can manage, then it is saying that nobody who can manage a crocodile is despised. I mean, you can manage the crocodile as well as you will be despised, it is not possible. That means there is no intersection. Clear? And this means there is no intersection between the set B and set M. So there is no question of the babies can manage the crocodiles. So obviously the conclusion is the babies can't manage the crocodiles. But we have to show you the procedure for solving it. So first statement tells us that in the logical representation through quantifier that for all x, babies are illogical. Second statement tells us that for all x, illogical peoples are despised. So I think you are very much smart to catch that what does it mean bx, what is the meaning of ilx, what is the meaning of dx, and so on. And the final is there exists on x that mx dx. So who can manage and who can despise, this set is empty, and for that it is given as the negation sign. And finally the conclusion what here made is that for all x, babies can't manage the crocodile. So for all x, bx is negation of mx, because babies can't manage. Clear? Now we are going to start the process of proving it. We are starting from 3, so I can write it here from 3 for all x negation of mx conjunction dx. Got the point from where we get it? It was existential with a negative sign. Negative sign is inserted and it is becoming universal. Next, what we can write, that for all x, if I now insert this negation over here, negation, then De Morgan's rule will be telling us that it will be negation of dx union negation of mx. Clear? So we can write again for all x dx implies negation of mx, because you can recall p implies q means negation of p disjunction q. So negation of p disjunction q, if q is negation of mx, so it will be negation of mx. So we are making this equation as 4. Now what the process we are doing, it's very important to follow. We are making the process which is called universal instantiation. Universal instantiation means we are making universally one instant, taking an arbitrary c. So we are making this the process by taking an arbitrary c. So what we get, BC indicates ILC, ILC indicates DC, and DC indicates negation of MC. Now we are going to apply hypothetical syllogism. So if you can recall what is hypothetical syllogism, it is nothing but P implies Q, Q implies R, together with they will give you the information that P implies R. So if we just apply this universal instantiation, then this first two, P implies Q and Q implies R, gives you BC implies DC. Look at this, P implies R, so BC implies DC. Clear? And we also have this third one. So this one and this statement together with gives me, obviously by hypothetical syllogism again, because look at this, BC implies DC, DC implies negation of MC. So ultimately we have to use this, and by hypothetical syllogism what we get, BC goes to negation of MC. BC implies negation of MC. Now the reverse process, that is universal generalization. Universal generalization gives us the conclusion that Bx for all x implies negation of mx. Look at this, negation of mx means those who can't manage, means this is the part of negation of mx, and it gives us that bc means now after generalization dx for all x, bx implies negation of mx means babies can't manage simply. So this is the examples what I have shared. Now just our remaining job is to share with you the references and finally the assignments. So solve this, and finally if there is any confusion please feel free to communicate. So I am thanking you all for your kind and patience presence. Happy listening, happy learning.